Alright, so here we are again with some more Xbox controversy. If you love these videos and just want to talk about the changing landscape in the video game industry, consider subscribing to the channel. So I don't want to waste too much time. We kind of already know what we're getting into. It's the whole Xbox coming to PlayStation whole conversation again. So if you guys don't know, Gamescom is going on over in Cologne, Germany. We are having, it's the biggest video game like convention in the world. And of course we had opening night live a couple nights ago. And there was a few things that came out of it from Xbox that people are now talking about. Are execs lying? Is there some weird third-party push? Is stuff like, what is going on, right? We got to talk about it. So the way I want to construct this video is kind of looking at the very recent past, looking at a little bit of the present now that we know a little bit more, and then kind of predicting what do I think we'll see from Xbox and then other publishers as we go into the future, our near future. So let's get right into it. So back in February, we got these like rumors around, Starfield, Indiana Jones, a bunch of big games are going to be coming to PlayStation 5 and maybe Nintendo Switch. So Xbox tried to get ahead of this a little bit and said, hey, we're going to have a business update and we'll kind of explain everything going on from there. Now, there was a lot of, talk around, first party and Game Pass and what goes on and how long a game's going to stay, time exclusivity, things like that. But the main topic was, hey, 4 games are going to be going to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. So we saw Hi-Fi Rush, we saw Pentiment, we saw Grounded, and we saw Sea of Thieves. Now, recently, we did hear that Sea of Thieves may have sold around 1 million copies. That hasn't been fully corroborated yet. But if we want to just look at the pre-orders, the game being like at the top of most of Sony's, like their sales charts and everything like that, 1 million copies isn't a big surprise. Now, unfortunately, Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, and Pentiment didn't make as much noise. But seeing from this, we saw that, okay, either it was not going to work at all and Xbox may just suffer the consequences of that and just we don't know where they go from there, or it was going to work out and we start seeing more games. Now the thing with this was the fact that Phil Spencer said his own self that this would not mean that we're going to get just the floodgates weren't going to just be open, right? We're not going to get Gears of War and Halo and Forza and everything just flooding the market going on the Switch and PlayStation and everything like that. However, he was asked directly, hey, is Starfield or Indiana Jones amongst those 4? Because we didn't know what the 4 games were going to be at the time of this interview. And he said, those are not a part of the 4. And now you kind of get in that weird like lie by omission or like misleading text, because no, Starfield and Indiana Jones weren't part of the original 4, but now we got the news that Indiana Jones will be coming to PS5. Now, this was 6 months ago. We heard there were talks about certain games coming to PS5, and I'm like, it would be lost on me to think that they didn't have this cooked up already, but they didn't want to announce it at the time. And then we fast forward to opening night live and we get a new trailer for Indiana Jones, more gameplay with the game looking great. And not only did we finally get a release date that this game will be coming out on December 6th, but we also got the announcement that it will be coming to PS5 coming next spring, so spring 2025. So that could be March, April, May, maybe early June, but we're looking at 3 to maybe 5 or 6 months after the game launches as a day one game in Xbox and Game Pass coming to a competitor's platform. And now that is a little concerning, I'm not gonna lie. Now, if you want to talk about the game coming to another platform, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I think the main issue with this is the fact that you're announcing it before the game even comes out for Xbox. Like, we're 4 months away, maybe 3.5, right? It's August 20th at this point. Why are you telling people already, hey, it's coming out day one in Game Pass, it's coming out on Xbox, but if you have a PS5, you can just wait? It's like, why do that? Either if people want to buy it, they'll get a system, they'll subscribe to Game Pass on PC, they'll figure out something, they'll get a Series S for cheap during the holidays maybe. Like, why are you just stepping on your own announcement and stepping on your own money that you could be making by people's like, oh, it's coming spring? Oh, that's right around the corner after it comes out. There's no FOMO, there's nothing, there's 1 million games to play, I got my backlog, I got like why is Xbox doing it? I think that is the main mistake. Now let's talk about the fact that it's coming to PS5 in general. Now, I haven't watched a ton of people's videos on this or read a bunch of, tweets or articles or anything like that, but the main thing I want people to think about is the fact that Indiana Jones is a licensed IP. Now, I know we talked about the 4 games that are coming to, or that did come to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation with Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment and all that. Those were live service games, smaller games, games that pretty much made as much money as they're going to on the Xbox. So the whole feeling of these games being ported to other, platforms, it's like, okay, they made them as much money as they're going to make on Xbox and probably PC, even Steam. Let's expand it, get it out to more profiles and more systems and more players so they could experience these games, and they did. Now, unfortunately, Tango did get shut down, but like we said earlier in the video, Sea of Thieves was seeing a lot of success, especially being a, live service game constantly being updated. But now when it comes to Indiana Jones, it is a licensed IP. Now, some people may look at, let's say, Spider-Man, for example, on Sony's PlayStation platform. Now, I don't know the full logistics of it. I know, Marvel sold off a bunch of the Spider-Verse to Sony, and then X-Men and Fantastic Four to Fox, and then Disney bought the MCU and all that kind of stuff. But Sony has an easier, way to kind of get the Spider-Man games over and being, exclusive to the PlayStation brand because Sony owns it, right? They own the IP, whether it's a different Spider-Man or, Sony Interactive versus Sony Pictures, whatever. There's something that can be used there. When we talk about Indiana Jones, it's owned by Disney, right? Lucasfilms, Disney bought it. Same thing with Star Wars and everything like that. So getting the game to be exclusive, especially in today's date, isn't like it's. I mean, I'm sure there's some other games people could think of, but like you got Hogwarts Legacy, that was multi-platform. You got like all these IPs are being spread on other platforms because the publishers don't own it, right? And Disney's not going to, in 2024, just say, hey, especially for Xbox, they're not going to say, hey, yeah, Indiana Jones could stay on Xbox exclusive forever and you own this and all that. Like, they don't have that autonomy. So, like, thinking back on it, and again, someone may have mentioned this already. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but Xbox doesn't own it. I don't think they're able to have the game put on Xbox and work that deal out. And we'll never know, right? Like behind the scenes things, we don't know exactly what's going on with, hey, you could have the IP, but we own it, or you own this game. Are you signed for multiple games? Is it going to be a trilogy? Is it going to just be a one and done? Like, we don't know any of this stuff. So to be honest, when you really sit down and think about the fact that it is coming to PlayStation, which is the more dominant, system, I'm not that surprised when it comes to Indiana Jones, which, like I said, Disney owns it. They're licensing it out to Microsoft to use for a video game. So Phil was asked about this, the game coming to PS5, and this is what he said, and I quote, Indiana Jones coming to PS5 is a strategy that works for us. We said we were going to learn by talking about launching the 4 games last year. We said we'd watch. What I see when I look is our franchises are getting stronger. Our Xbox console players are as high this year as they've ever been. We run a business, is definitely true inside of Microsoft. The bar is high for us in terms of the delivery we have to give back to the company because we get a lot of support from the company. That's just amazing and what we're able to go do. People are looking for ways to grow. The industry is changing. I think for us as fans, as players of games, we just have to anticipate there's going to be more change in how some of the traditional games, the way games are built, distributed, that's going to change. The end result has to be better games that more people can play. Now, the other funny thing about this is the fact that we also got Phil, confirming that Doom: The Dark Ages will be coming out on PS5 at some point. Now, does that mean day and date? I do think so. And why is that? We've heard that, hey, that's going to be case-by-case basis on what games come and what goes to other platforms and things like that. But when you think about it, Doom is a, historically multi-platform franchise. I feel like the same thing with Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and things like that. Like, we'll talk about it later, but these, what we call legacy franchises that aren't from Xbox, I do think we'll see them on other consoles, and that just makes sense. Same thing with licensed IPs. It's harder to get a licensed IP to just come out on your, system. That's why Sony's been smart as far as what we're calling second party games like Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin and all these other games that they're co-developing, Final Fantasy VII remake and things like that, because they're putting money into the game, helping develop it, and then making it exclusive without having to use a first party. So that's what's happened in the very recent past, what's happening today. Now I kind of want to talk about looking ahead to the future. What does this mean? Do we need to be panicking, and do I need people to just sell their Xboxes and everything like that? And I'll say that kind of is up to you, right? Let's look at what hasn't come out yet that will be coming out in the future. The first thing I thought about when this happened was the Elder Scrolls 6. Now, when the Elder Scrolls 6 does come out and our great-great-grandkids will get to play this game whenever it does come out, I do see it not being Xbox exclusive. And now, of course, we're trying to take all these words from Microsoft and things like that, from the FTC files and things like that, but y'all gotta realize, like, they were trying to acquire Activision Blizzard. They had to make themselves seem very user-friendly, multi-plat, play nice with everyone. But who knows? I mean, we even talked about Starfield. People thought, okay, maybe that'll come to PS5. I could see that coming to PS5 at some point. It's a new IP. Yes, Xbox technically owns it, or not even technically, it does own it. They bought, Bethesda when they were developing this game, and we heard that it was going to be a PS5 exclusive at one point. So I could definitely see it coming. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, but I could also say that Starfield may be a little safer than something like a Fallout New Vegas 2 or Fallout 5 in Elder Scrolls 6, like I mentioned before, considering Skyrim is one of the biggest games ever. I could see Starfield possibly coming, but I think it'll just stay where it's at. But then we got to talk about what everybody was going crazy over during the Game Awards. We got the surprise announcement of a Blade game, which again is a licensed game. So talking about, Indiana Jones, Blade is a licensed game. They do not own it. So it's like, can we expect this to be an Xbox exclusive? I think if anything's to go by, them not having the play only on Xbox or exclusively on Xbox and everyone asking questions about it and things like that, it seems warranted now. This seemed crazy to talk about and just controversial 8 months ago, but now I think it's almost safe to assume that this game will not be Xbox exclusive. I can see this game definitely launching on PS5. Whether it's a time, launch, because it's not a legacy video game franchise or anything like that, so it could just be a timed exclusive for Microsoft and PC or whatever, maybe on Steam day one, but this game, I'm willing to bet, like I'll bet $1,000 that this game will be on PS5 at some point. And now, just want to kind of give my thoughts on people that are thinking about buying an Xbox, right? So we got the announcement of the new systems coming out later this year with the 2 terabyte Series S and the 2 terabyte Series X, and with the disk drive and all that. I'm not going to say no. I think it, again, like with everything, it depends. Do you want to just be able to play a whole bunch of games because of Game Pass, or you plan to subscribe to it and you don't have a PC? Sure, go ahead. You could get the Series S. It's a lower price point. Play a bunch of games. When you're done with them, just uninstall them and keep it moving. If you care about PlayStation and some of those exclusives, hey, they're coming to PC. If you have a PC already, some of those games are coming over. You got God of War, Horizon, Ratchet and Clank, a lot of it, Last of Us, all these games are coming over. Plus, you got the ability to get Game Pass for PC, which is the cheapest tier, it's $12 a month. So I'm not going to say it doesn't warrant like the Xbox still being bought. Like, I have one already, so I'm not about to run out and sell one, but it does come into question. What about next generation, which we hear may start in 2026, which may be a hybrid system or a portable SKU coming out with it? Like, what does that mean for people moving forward and how they feel about Xbox and their exclusivity? Like, why do I need this? Yes, Quick Resume is great. Game Pass is great. The controller is great. Playing on the TV, like a lot of people like to do still, is like, but is that enough to convince me to go into the ecosystem, right? Like, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of great games still exclusive on the Xbox. We haven't seen anything from South of Midnight or Fable or any of those other games we know, Perfect Dark. We haven't heard anything of those coming to the other systems, and I don't think they will, to be honest. I think Xbox is going to stay with this case-by-case basis, bring maybe the, smaller titles, the live service titles as well, and some of the legacy IP and things like that, bring that to other systems. But Avowed, South of Midnight, all these newer IPs and games, I think they'll stay. I don't think Gears and Halo and things like that are going to just go to PlayStation for no reason. Xbox is trying to have its cake and eat it too at some point. Like they're essentially trying to say, hey, come over here because we have all these features and services. But if you're over there, you can play some of our games too. Not all of them, but enough of them where we know you're not going to convert over here. We're trying to get that money. But that begs the question of, is that worth it? You're hurting the brand. It's kind of like a catch-22. You're trying to make more money by having your games in multiple places, but you're also losing money because people are like, why do I need to own this thing? If I'm not in the ecosystem already, like you're trying to convince me to leave or add another expense to my life, which I kind of don't want to do, right? So that's the consumer part. That's a little hard to do, but I think Microsoft is just saying, hey, we just want to make as much money as we can, try and keep the core fans happy, and bring, even if it's not a lot of people, bring them over with some of these exclusives that we know people want to play. And then people might see like, hey, everything's not coming to, PS5. Certain games are, I'll buy it over there. Microsoft gets their 70% or whatever the price is, and they'll make their money through Game Pass subscriptions and things like that. So I think that's what they're doing moving forward. Again, for me, I have the Xbox already. I have the PS5. I have PC now. I have the Switch. So it doesn't really affect me personally. I don't think fans should be getting, I don't say they can't get upset, because we all as Xbox fans want them to do well. We want there to be competition. We, maybe have a little bit, we want them to have a little bit more pride like Nintendo and Sony does. But again, they're going to do what they got to do for business. They're part of Microsoft, under more scrutiny and things like that. So that's everything I got to say on the matter. You guys let me know in the comment section below. How do you feel about Xbox bringing Indiana Jones and Doom and possibly these other Elder Scrolls 6, like we said, potentially other first-party games over to more systems? Should they do less of it? Should they do more of it? Should they just try and, explain more of their reasoning for what they're doing as much as they can? We know there are legal documents they can't talk about. So that's all I got. Y'all let me know. Leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're someone new, and I will catch you on the next video.